Luke, you've done quite a bit of sharing and defending the faith with Muslims and skeptics, in person and online. I'm wondering, how helpful have you found apologetics in what you do?
Apologetics is essential for almost all discussions online. It's very rare that you're going to run into someone who just has a personal problem with their life or wants to learn about the Bible. Typically in these conversations, there's someone who is proposing a challenge to the Bible. They say, you can't believe in the Bible because of this or that. This is a problem. Jesus couldn't have been incarnated. There are all sorts of things that people think don't make sense in the Bible. And so knowing how to answer these is really important for being able to talk with these people.
When did you start being interested in apologetics?
I got mostly interested in apologetics after college. I became very interested in questions of how does the Bible fit with modern science. We've learned all these things about astronomy and other scientific fields. How does that make sense in light of what we've learned in Genesis? And then after that, I had a period of time where I was very interested in philosophy, and I still am interested in Christian philosophy. And then most recently, I've been very interested in the questions about the text of the Bible and the Hebrew language and things like that.
Has your interest changed over the years? I guess you say now you're more interested in the original languages, but are you saying you started out with an interest in science and then you've gotten more interested in the detailed expression, or how would you say that it's developed?
Yeah, there are really a lot of different areas of apologetics that someone could choose to specialize in. And I really do think that we need people to specialize in certain fields. In that way, maybe I haven't done the best thing, but I've been studying the parts that interest me at the time and digging deep into the Bible and learning about these various topics.
You've traveled a good deal with work, ministry, other things like that, and you've been in parts of the world where people aren't familiar with the Bible and the gospel, for example, the Middle East or India. And then I understand when you come back, you stay in touch with those contacts and they start challenging you. And how would you say your discussions might be different when you're in person, like having coffee with associates in a different country or friends, versus online? And do you see much difference, or if you already know the person, are you different online? How could you compare those two?
Yeah, there are certainly very different contexts, and I think it is important to keep them different in our minds about how we approach them. I'm not the type of person who necessarily goes straight to the gospel with people, but I do like to talk a lot about the Bible with people even who aren't from a Christian background, just because it's an important part of my life. I think it's the lens through which we understand a lot of the world, and so it's something that I like to share with other people. So if it's just someone that I know personally and they're not necessarily interested in a religious conversation, I would think about how to approach that, but often I'll just talk about it in terms of, hey, this is how I think about things, or this is something that interested me. And conversations do often take off in that way. And people will share, a lot about their personal life, how they understand religion and things like that. And that's very different from a lot of these online conversations. So one big difference is the people that you know personally, they're more inclined to be open and respectful, and you can just have a conversation about things that are important to you. When you're talking with people online, especially in these apologetics contexts, usually it's someone who has a strong position. They've maybe heard some things on the internet. sometimes I do get the sense that they just want to trash religion or they want to trash Christianity. So you have to be a little bit careful about, ask yourself, is this a person who's really interested in learning or not? Now, if the person is not interested in learning, you still can interact with them, but you want to react in a respectful way, knowing that this person really isn't interested in the answer and they're not going to change their mind. But sometimes, very often, there are other people who are watching your interaction with this person who can be affected by that. So many of people's testimonies coming into Christianity and leaving Christianity, it stems from, I saw this sort of argument, or someone gave what I thought was a good argument and no one had an answer to it. So even when we're talking to people who really are not interested in the answer, sometimes it can be useful to give them the answer.
Could I say that just a few days ago I was with a group of people that share the gospel with Muslims, and one of them was on a site where he was defending the gospel and answering questions to somebody who was challenging. That person was not very interested, but someone was watching that conversation, just like you said, and that person got in touch with my associate and asked to be trained, discipled in the gospel. So that it's exactly an example of what you're saying, where you have to keep in mind somebody else might be reading your conversation online.
It does happen, and I think for us to actually hear back like you did is very rare, but I think it very often happens that people see this and they are impacted in one way or another. And we have to remember also that people aren't just, they're ready to become Christians right away. For many people, it's a long process. And, even Paul talks about this where he says, some plant and some grow and then some harvest. So, we're all in different spots along the road, but we want to help people go from a position where they think there's a problem with Christianity to saying, wow, actually, Christianity kind of makes sense.
What I'd like us to encourage people to think about in this video is the importance of apologetics, especially in ministry to Muslims, but whatever branch you are in. I think you will find that knowing how to defend the gospel can really help you, whether you're defending the Bible or why you believe in God or why you don't prefer Islam, although at that point we might be getting into what we call polemics. So I would say the importance of being able to defend the gospel or apologetics when we're working with Muslims is when you very first meet them, if anything is said at all about religion, or if you mention that you're a Christian, almost immediately they will go into what we call the Big Four, which we'll talk about in other videos. But they have no problem challenging you on the Bible's been changed or God wouldn't be a man or something like that. So it comes up right away. And that's why I would like to encourage everybody watching this, if you talk to Muslims, get to know what the questions and the challenges that they have are. And if you're talking to skeptics, atheists, Hindus, get to know what challenges they will give you. And that way you'll be able to answer them, and hopefully those answers will mean that certain stumbling blocks will fall away and the gospel will make more sense to them.